Hi, Gene Burnett from GeneBurnett.com. Hey, I thought we'd talk a little bit today about some different ways to look at the form, to look at the Tai Chi form. One way to look at it, that some people look at it this way, is that the form is like a catalog of techniques. So each movement that you're doing is a specific application. They do this, you do that. They punch, you arm bar, you pull down, you elbow strike, you shoulder strike, or you catch their fist and you do a strike to the ribs, or you throw them over your leg. And the form is seen as a catalog of techniques, like a museum of techniques that you then execute. Another way to look at it is that the form is a catalog of form points that are like you're trying to nail the exact, proportions and distances between the different points and parts of the form, and you're trying to do this form as a perfect execution of a sort of form target. The target could be, you could be going for that target for health reasons, meridian reasons, or Chinese medicine reasons, or aesthetic reasons, or tournament guidelines or tournament reasons. And the idea would be to get as close to that perfect form, structure, shape as you can. Still another way to look at it, which is the way that I've been looking at it for some time and the way that I find the most beneficial. I've looked at it those other ways. I've definitely looked at forms as catalogs of techniques and as form, like yoga positions that I want to get as correctly as possible. But the way that's a little bit more valuable to me these days, and the way that I sort of prefer, is to see the form as a catalog of principles or concepts or ideas, ways to move, ways to deal with energy, ways to deal with momentum, ways to deal with potential attackers. If you do it that way, it's less about specific form martial technique, and it's less about specific form points, and more about the general idea of that movement. Like, what's the purpose of this? What are we getting at with this movement? So if we just take a typical movement like, say, brush knee and push, or brush knee twist step, I'm just going to do it in place so I don't get closer and closer to the camera. So don't worry about my form correctness, how well I do this, or comparing it to your particular version in your style. I'm just doing, this is more about the general concept of how to look at the form. So I'm just doing this movement in place like this, just switching my feet each time. So this movement, if you were looking at it as if it was a technique, you might be thinking of deflecting a punch or a strike here, and then, like, you've still got your hand on it, you push it aside and push your hand into their face. Or you could look at it like you're stepping into displace or block a kick, and then you're pushing them into the chest or into their center line like that. If you were looking at it as a form point, you might be working with the timing and the angles, and you're not thinking so much about martial techniques as you're thinking about proper distancing between the various parts of the body and nailing the form. As I say, both of which are valid, and I respect those ways of looking at it. I've done it myself and gotten value from it. But if we're going to do the concept, if we're going to look at it as a concept of one motion that sweeps and one motion that pushes or strikes, one thing I like about looking at it this way is that you can apply a variety of different applications martially, also a variety of different ways of doing this movement depending on your training goals. I mean, some people are training to rehab injuries, some people are training just for a relaxing, loosening, comfortable way to move with the body. Some people are looking at balance issues. Some people are more martially oriented. Some people are interested in circulation in the body. So if you're looking at it that way, according to your training goals, you can dial in however much martial awareness or however much focused intent that you like. So I could start by doing the movement really big. I could do it really big and almost kind of dancey, like I'm just doing this. Now, given that our posture is good, we're not going to be twisting our knees around or lifting our shoulders. Just given that our posture is basically there, look, I can do this movement really big and really sweepy, and it hardly has any real martial intent at all. In fact, I can even turn my back and go all the way around here, and then come all the way back again, go all the way over here, and all the way back again. Just working on good alignment, good posture, and a nice, sense of flow as I go through it, right? Then if I want to make it a little bit more martial, I can just shrink it a little bit and just make it a little bit more small, a little more focused on bringing this to bear here like this. As long as I've got this basic idea here, to me it's all brush knee. I'm getting smaller now, and if I want to think a little bit more martially, I could think in terms of knocking something aside here, like that, and pushing or striking with the other hand. Or, since I'm not really, don't trust myself to read that a kick is coming in that instant in a potential fight, I tend to think of it more like I'm meeting or rolling back or splitting or connecting with some kind of strike to my face, pushing it aside and striking. So it can become really, really small now. But the main motion is this. That's still there, see? Like that. And I can go the other way. Make it less and less martially focused, less and less martial intent, more and more flow, health, balance, circulation. So see, it can become... Now some people would say this is useless, this is a waste of time, but it depends on your training goals. What if my goal is just to get some range of motion and movement up into my shoulders and feel like my body's moving together as one relaxed unit? I don't care about punches and kicks, I just want to feel good. So you can do it this way and just work on that. Or you can bring it a lot more focused into here. Now this last idea, the one I'm talking about here, whether you just, the punch is coming and you've just barely opened the door and boom, you go in there, that's just one that I feel like working on, that I feel like focusing on. Someone else with a lot more experience dealing with kicks, they might shrink it down and really be looking at dealing with that and dealing with this. This is just one way to look at it. The thing I like about it, when you see it as an idea, as a concept, as a basic principle of one motion off your back leg, one motion of your waist and hips, that brings a sweep around as well as a push. When you see it that way, you have this versatility. You can explore this for the rest of your Tai Chi, career, and you can be looking at different ways that appeal to you. I'm a little more focused on striking right now, so I'm going to be thinking of more of that. Someone else has been more focused on kicking, they might focus on that. Someone else might be focused more on yielding and softness, and they might be focusing more on the soft part, the getting ready part. You have a lot of versatility as far as your martial application as well as your health application. If you see this as not a form movement to be nailed exactly right, and not a technique that has one or two correct ways of looking at it and that's all you're doing. They do that, you do this. I like it because it opens things up. I've been practicing this way for, many, many years, 30 years or more, and it's always interesting to me because I can always adapt the form to my training goals. As my training goals change, it's like the art comes with me. Sometimes you're injured, sometimes you have a health concern, or life takes you a certain direction and you start focusing on some other aspect of your body and its life, and you may want to practice that supports that. And if you see your Tai Chi form as a group of ideas rather than something that can only be done one or two correct ways, then you have a lot more versatility and a lot more fun, a lot more fun. So this can be applied to other movements. You can do it with, say, parting horse's mane, which can be a big, you know, swirly movement like this. You can just be looking at just large, comfortable, sweeping range of motion type movements, or you can get smaller, a little bit smaller, and it starts to look a little bit more martial. And then it can get very small, and you can be thinking of it as a throw, or you could be thinking of it as a groin strike, or you can be thinking as a rib strike, or a strike to the face. You can think of all kinds of different ways to express it martially if you dial it down. But when you dial it back again, you can work more and more on on flow, and connections, and balance, and alignment, and posture. It can become more and more of a big sweeping motions like that. You can do it with single whip, you know, which can be a big movement like this, or it can be very, very focused in here. So you have a lot of different range and a lot of ways to play, and you can apply this to every movement in the form if you see them as ideas. And again, I just want to reiterate, I'm not knocking seeing it as a list of techniques, you know, like phrases, you know, they do this, you do that. I think of it more like an alphabet. You know, we learn the alphabet, idealized, perfect letter A, and then you develop your handwriting, and you develop ability to read other people's handwriting, and that basic concept of A is what it's all based on, but no one expects people to write in perfect letters like that. So Master Chung, my teacher's teacher, used to say this a lot too. The form is like the alphabet. Your version of it, as you learn it and adapt it and apply it to your life and your own body, is like your handwriting. It's your expression of those ideas. I like that way of looking at it. And you know, I like the way of looking at it as though it's a yoga, that you want to nail the position just right. I like that kind of aspect too, because it helps me key into my posture points and helps me refine the postures and positions. But boy, looking at it like an index of ideas, boy, that's really been the most fruitful for me. So you know, just putting it out there, recommending that you maybe give it a try, experiment with your take on the form, and see if it maybe suits you the way it suits me. Thanks for watching. Appreciate your watching, and if you want to subscribe to my channel, feel free. I post a lot of videos, music videos, Tai Chi videos, nature videos, and you can also visit GeneBurnett.com. Thanks for watching.